welcome back to my channel. I am Heather Tiedemann. I am a realtor down here in the beautiful Lexington, Columbia, South Carolina area. And just wanted to wish you guys a happy new year. 2025 is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited to really hit the ground rolling in 2025. Today we are going to be talking about if you are planning a move to South Carolina in 2025, what you need to be doing now to prepare for that. But before we get started, I am going to ask that you please like and subscribe to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps my channel grow. We did hit 400 subscribers, so I appreciate all the love and support this past week. So I really appreciate you guys. And my goal for 2025 is to hit 550 subscribers. So fingers crossed. So let's kind of hop on into this. I'm going to do a general overview. If you want more details or a more detailed response to this, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in the description below, and I'm very happy to walk you through everything. So number one is really locking down on the area in which you want to live. There are so many different areas of South Carolina, and there are so much variety depending on where you're wanting to live. Are you wanting to live more rural? Do you want to live in a city? Do you want to live in the suburbs? Do you want to live by the coast? Do you want to live in the mountains? Do you want to live centrally located to both? That really is going to determine your next steps. So locking down where you want to move is going to be highly beneficial for you. Locking those down, come visit, hit all the areas that you're interested in and try to really check out those areas, deep dive in it. Don't go there as a tourist, go there as someone that is thinking, this is where I want to live. Check on Facebook and see if there are any moving to groups. I know in my area, because I run the group, there is moving to Lexington, Irmo, and Chapin, but I am sure there are other Facebook groups like moving to Charleston, moving to Somerville, moving to Greenville. All those areas very likely have a Facebook group, especially if they're a larger city. So really research and deep dive and lock down the area in which you want to live, because that is going to be crucial for your next steps, especially if you're planning to purchase a home while you're here. Locking down that area, figuring out this is where I want to be, is probably the most important piece of the puzzle, because you really can't do anything else in these steps without locking that down first. So gather the information you need, figure it out, really deep dive into that area to make sure and confirm this is where I want to be, and move on to step two. Step two is going to be, once you have identified where you want to live, you need to lock down 4 things. 3 and then a possible. If you do not work remotely, or you do not have another source of income, like you're retired or you get SSI or something like that, you want to go ahead and lock down a job. Things move slow in the South. That is something you need to be prepared for. So a few months beforehand, go ahead and start applying for those positions in which interest you, because it could take you a few weeks just to get an interview. And then it could be a few weeks after that before you even know if you made it to the next step. So I highly recommend locking down that job first and foremost, especially if you plan on financing a home, because unless you work remotely or you have another source of income, you will need to have that job locked down prior to being able to get financing. Number 2 is going to be figuring out which doctors you need. If you move here and you are someone that needs immediate medical attention, if it's urgent, like if it's you're very ill or it's a life or death situation, you can definitely get an appointment. Like, I would not worry about moving here and you're in a life or death situation and not be able to get care, because that is not what I mean. What I mean is, if you move here and you need to go ahead and establish as a patient, that could take a couple of months. So I would go ahead and figure out the doctor that you want and go ahead and getting on their schedule, because it could take 2 or 3 months to get an appointment with that doctor, even longer if it's a specialist. So definitely get those appointments locked down so you can move here and not have to worry that you're going to have health care and that your health care needs are taken care of. Number 3 is going to be daycares. If you need childcare, that is something you want to get started with early. I've mentioned this before. I've mentioned these other 2 things before, but this is kind of all encompassing. Daycares have wait lists, and these wait lists could be a few weeks, they could be a few months, some can be even years. So identify the daycare in which you want and go ahead and get your children on that daycare. So when you move here and you're starting your new job, you're not worried about, well, who's going to be able to watch my kids? And then the 4th possible one is going to be kind of like a twofer. Once you have identified the area in which you want to live, reach out to a realtor in that area. If you're planning on purchasing, reach out to them, figure out a game plan, and go from there. You're going to want to really find an area, like a realtor that knows the area in which you're researching. A lot of people think they can find one realtor for the entire state, and while technically that is true, the realtors are licensed for the entire state. But I'm a South Carolina native. I've lived here my entire life. If you're asking me for a small town in upstate or a small town in the low country, I'm probably not going to be able to give you as much information about that as I would be for an area that I know very well. So most realtors are experts in the area in which they service. So I service the Lexington, Columbia, the Midlands area of South Carolina. So I'm going to know a ton about this area. But if you're asking about Myrtle Beach or the upstate, I'm not going to be able to help you as much. So that's why it's so important to lock down your area, because if you're wanting genuine, real, honest answers for things, you're going to want somebody that is there in your corner and that could answer those. There's a reason why, while legally I can operate in the entire state, I don't. Because I feel like it is unfair for my clients to be selling them a house in Greenville when I don't know enough about Greenville to properly advise them. And then kind of along with the realtor is going to be a lender. Now, lender's a little bit different. You don't need someone that specializes in the exact area. But I do recommend finding a local lender, at least a lender that is in South Carolina, because South Carolina has kind of odd property tax laws. And I've seen it time and time again that when you have a national, I can't remember the word, a national lender, they don't understand those South Carolina property tax laws, and it can really mess you up, because a lot of people think, 4%, 6% is not that different, but no, it's a massive difference. A $300,000 home could be $1,800 a year in property taxes if it's your primary residence, but if it is not your primary residence, it could be $10,000. Like, there is a very big difference. It's 3 to 4 times the amount of your property taxes. And if the lender does not recognize that, it can really hurt you in that pre-approval process. But the reason I say go ahead and speak with the lender early in the prep stage is because you don't want it to get to be go time and you realize that you missed something. There was something that you needed to fix before you were able to move on to the next step, because you're ready to purchase a home, but you still need to do X, Y, and Z. But if you would have spoken to a lender in the very beginning process, part of that process, you would already know what you needed to do, and that would have already been done, and you wouldn't have to worry about it. So that is why I say speak to those two, and that's like a possible, because some people move here and they don't buy. Some people move here and they rent. So, if it's not, you're not buying, you probably don't need to speak to a realtor or a lender, but that's why I said it was a possible. Moving on to step 2. If you are moving and you have a home to sell, you want to get that home on the market. You hear me say this a lot, but a lot of people want to find that home that they're going to buy first because they're scared of being homeless. And I completely understand that. Genuinely, I do. But especially now as homes start staying on the market longer and longer, if you don't get your home on the market, you very well could be missing out on your dream home, because the sell and closing contingency here, if your current home is not on the market, under contract, and outside of its due diligence period, then the seller for the home that you're buying could sell that home to anybody else that does not have a sell and closing contingency, and you could be right back where you started. So get your home on the market sooner rather than later, and then work on finding your house here. Because it's a lot better to miss out on your dream home. I mean, not miss out on your dream. It's very much better to stay in an Airbnb, a furnished find, or a hotel for a few days than it would be to miss out on your dream home and kind of be stuck with what choice you have. So I highly recommend getting your home on the market first before falling in love with anything here. So step 3 would be finding a home here. Now step 1, you've identified your realtor. So really pushing finding that home. There's a couple of different steps you can take with this. You can come into town and tour homes over a week span, a weekend kind of thing. Some people do that. A lot of people will do virtual tours, and where we go, we look through a property, we walk through it, and then you have a 10 business day due diligence period only in this area. Statewide is 10 calendar days, so just something to keep in mind. But and come see the home in person at that point. Some people buy houses sight unseen. I don't recommend doing that. But some people do it, and it works out fine for them. But I don't recommend that. And then finding your home here and getting to the closing table, your realtor will be able to line up those closings as close as they possibly can, given the time frame. One thing I like to note is, especially if you live in the Northeast, closing times are vastly different in the Northeast than they are in South Carolina. In the Northeast, it can take you 60 to 90 days to close on a property once you go under contract. Here, we generally close in less than 30 days. So something to really keep in mind when lining up those timelines is, if you're in New York and your closing date is 90 days out, it's going to be kind of difficult to find a home here that's willing to wait 90 days to close on their property. So just something to keep in the back of your mind when you are considering a move to this area. So say we've found your home. You have made the move. You are here. You are getting settled in. Lastly, you're going to want to start taking steps to make that transition a lot smoother. It should be a pretty smooth transition because you did your prep ahead of time. You've locked down your job. You have your doctors. You have your daycares. You should be smooth sailing on that front. But now you're moving to a new area where you don't know anybody. You want to go ahead and start making those connections, because the biggest complaint I hear here when people move is they don't have anybody. They left their family, they left their friends. So the biggest thing you want to get out there is start meeting people. Once you go under contract for a home, join that Facebook group. Join that community Facebook group. Most neighborhoods have them now. Start meeting people. Meet your neighbors. Go out, talk with them. Enjoy their company, because especially if you have kids, that's a great resource, because kids make friends with everybody. Like, half my friends are only friends with me because of my kids. My kids made those friends for me. So just genuinely getting out there. Meetup, I've mentioned it before. We have a Lexington newcomers meetup group on Facebook and the Meetup app. Some people think the Meetup app is like a dating app. It is not. It is about groups of people that have common interests that get out and start socializing. So we have the Lexington newcomers, but there's parents groups, there's play groups, there's wine groups. If you like to go walking, there's groups for that. If you like to play card games, there's a group for that. Go find those groups, join them, and start getting out and really meeting your neighbors and meeting people from all walks of life. Another resource for meeting people are going to be churches. Churches are on every corner here. If you want to meet people, go to a church. You'll meet everybody. Volunteering. There are so many nonprofits in our area that really could utilize some volunteers. And you're kind of getting a twofer. You're giving back to the community in which you've just moved, and you're also making those connections with people. So I highly recommend doing that. Those are just a few different options for what you can do to really immerse yourself in the community. Another big one is going to be sports, especially if you have kids, or even if you don't have kids. There are a lot of sports teams, tournaments, just pickup games that you can join in on and really make those connections. And like I told you in the beginning, this was going to be kind of like a high-level overview of the things you need to prepare for if you are planning a move in 2025. I didn't want to make this video too long, and we're already at 15 minutes, so I am going to end it here. But if you have questions and you want to know more, please feel free to contact me or put a comment down in the comment box below. I always answer those. If I don't see them, for some reason I don't always get notifications from YouTube, I don't know why, shoot me a text. But I try to answer every single question that I get that comes my way. But I hope you guys have the most wonderful 2025, and I wish you guys the absolute best, and I will see you next week. Until next time, bye!